Before Saraland was known for Friday night football, new schools, the land, and families moving north of Mobile, it was known by a very different name. Actually, it had more than one name. Before it was Saraland, it was Alvarez Station, and then it became Cleveland Station. And then, according to local history, a retired minister opened a post office along the railroad and named this place after his beloved wife, Sara. And that is how we get Saraland. It's Sara's land. And once you know that story, it changes the way that you look at the city. Because Saraland has always been a place shaped by movement, land grants, railroads, families, industry, schools, sports, and growth. And people who decided this was the place they wanted to build their life. So today, we're taking a walk through the history of Saraland, Alabama. Not just dates and facts, but the story of how a small settlement north of Mobile became one of the most talked about communities in the Southeast. I'm Kelli with Camellia Real Estate Group, brokered by eXp Realty, and I grew up in Saraland. And now that my family and I are back home, one of the things that I love most is helping people understand not just where they're buying, but what they're buying into. Because every town has a story, and Saraland's story is more interesting than a lot of people realize. It's a story that begins long before the subdivisions, long before the school system as we know it today, long before the restaurants, the sportsplex, and the traffic on Celeste Road. It begins with land. To understand Saraland, you have to start with Mobile County. This area sits in one of the most historically layered parts of Alabama. Mobile County was shaped by French, Spanish, British, and American control before it became Alabama that we know it today. Mobile itself was established in 1702, and it is one of the oldest cities in the United States. Saraland's specific story begins with land that was part of a Spanish land grant. According to the Encyclopedia of Alabama, the land that became Saraland was originally part of a Spanish grant, and the area was settled by squatters as early as the 1800s. The early name of the community was Alvarez Station. That name came from the Alvarez family connection to the original land grant. And that detail matters because it reminds us that Saraland did not start as a city. It started as rural land, family names, transportation routes, and small settlements forming around access and opportunity. The city's master plan names some of the early property buying families in the area: Alvarez, Rice, Moore, Toole, Williams, and Cleveland. Eventually, Alvarez Station became known as Cleveland Station. So before Saraland was Saraland, this was a place identified by families and by the railroad. In 1895, a retired minister named C.J. DeWitt opened the first post office on the Southern Railroad. And according to local history, he named the community after his wife, Sara. A town not named after a general, not after a governor, not after an industry, but after someone's beloved wife. And I think that is one of the most charming things about the city, because even today, Saraland feels personal to a lot of people. People don't just say, I live in north of Mobile. They say, I'm from Saraland. There is an identity to it. There is pride in it. And that identity goes all the way back to the name. A post office, a railroad, and a man who honored his wife. That is the kind of story that people remember. When you hear station in Alvarez Station or Cleveland Station, that is a clue. The railroads mattered. The Southern Railroad helped connect small communities like this one to larger markets, larger towns, and larger opportunity. Saraland was not yet a city full of subdivisions and school campuses. It was a small community tied to rural life, family farms, timber, transportation, and the expansion happening all around Mobile. For the early part of the 20th century, Saraland remained small. The Encyclopedia of Alabama says that Saraland stayed a small community until the middle of the 20th century, when Mobile's expanding population began spreading into nearby communities. And that is an important part of Saraland's story. Saraland did not explode overnight because someone randomly drew a city boundary. It grew because Mobile grew. Industry grew, jobs grew, families needed a place to live. People began moving north, and communities outside of Mobile started becoming more important. By the 1940s and 1950s, the Mobile area was changing. Industrial growth and population growth pushed more people into nearby communities. Saraland was one of those communities. In 1957, Saraland incorporated as a city. At the time of incorporation, it had 125 residents. Today, Saraland feels bigger. But when it officially became a city, it was tiny. Just 125 residents. But the timing was right. After incorporation, the population grew quickly. By 1960, the U.S. Census reported 4,595 residents, according to the city's master plan. By 2010, Saraland had grown to 13,400 residents, and we now estimate the city to be over 16,000 people. That's the story of Saraland in one sentence. A small railroad community became a growing city because people kept choosing to move north. You cannot tell the modern history of Saraland without talking about our schools. The city's master plan specifically notes that Saraland has its own school system, separate from the Mobile County public school system, and that school system attracted people who want to live within the city limits. In real estate, schools are not just schools. Schools shape where families buy. Schools shape neighborhoods. They shape resale value. Schools shape identity. A lot of families choose Saraland because they want their children to be Spartans. That Spartan identity is not just a mascot. It has become part of the culture, the very fabric of our lives. You see it on Friday nights. You see it in school events. You see it in band, athletics. Saraland's growth is not just about houses being built. It's about families choosing a community because they believe it gives their children opportunity. When people ask who famous is from Saraland, the answer is mostly tied to athletics, and that makes sense. Saraland's modern identity has become strongly connected to sports, especially football. And if you're going to talk about Saraland football, you have to talk about Coach Jeff Kelli. Before he became the face of Saraland Spartan football, Jeff Kelli was the quarterback at Southern Miss and was drafted by the Seattle Seahawks in the 7th round of the 2002 NFL Draft. And after his time in professional football, Coach Kelli came back to the area and started coaching, and he eventually became the head coach at Saraland High School in 2011. And that's where a new chapter of Saraland history begins, because under Coach Kelli, Saraland football did not just become good, it became part of the city's identity. Friday nights in Saraland are not just games, they are community events. They are school pride, they are families in Spartan gear, a band in the stand, packed stadiums, and a city rallying around their students. Saraland has developed athletes who went on to play at the highest levels. Velus Jones Jr., a Saraland High School graduate, went on to play college football at USC in Tennessee before being drafted by the Chicago Bears in the 3rd round of the 2022 NFL Draft. Cor'Dale Flott played for Coach Kelli at Saraland High School and went on to LSU and was drafted by the New York Giants in the 3rd round of the 2022 NFL Draft. Ryan Williams has become one of the biggest names in Alabama high school football while playing with Saraland. He became the first 2-time winner of Alabama's Mr. Football Award, led Saraland to a Class 6A state title, and plays at the University of Alabama. That kind of success changes the way people see a town. For a city the size of Saraland to produce that kind of football talent in statewide and national recognition is, frankly, remarkable. But this is not just about football. It's about what football represents here. Discipline, community pride, investment in our young people, coaches, teachers, parents, and students all pulling in the same direction. Today, Saraland is no longer just a small place north of Mobile. It is one of the anchor communities of Mobile County. You can see the evolution in the schools. You can see it in the new construction. You can see it in commercial development. You can see it in the sports complex, the land, that has become a major quality of life statement for our city. And you can see it in the way that people talk about Saraland now. It's not just a pass-through town. It's not just an exit off the interstate. It is a place that families actively choose. Saraland did not become what it is by accident. It started with the land. Then came the names, Alvarez Station, Cleveland Station, Saraland. Then came the railroad. Then came the families, then came incorporation and growth from Mobile. Then our schools and our Spartan identity. And then came the modern investment in recreation, athletics, facilities, and quality of life. That is a story that people are buying into when they buy a home here. They're not just buying square footage, they're buying a community that has been slowly building its identity for generations. And Saraland is still a young city. It incorporated in 1957. A lot of its history is still recent enough that families here still remember. Saraland has roots, but we are still writing its story. So the next time you drive through Saraland, look at it just a little differently. Before it was Saraland, it was Alvarez Station, Cleveland Station, and then a retired minister opened the post office along the railroad and named it after his wife, Sara. From there, a small settlement became a city of 125 people in 1957 that became a growing community of more than 16,000 people today. And now Saraland is known for its schools, its sports, its families, its growth, and its pride. That is the history of Saraland, not just a city north of Mobile, not just a real estate market, not just a school district, but a place with a name, a story, and a beautiful future. I'm Kelli with Camellia Real Estate Group, brokered by eXp Realty. And if you're thinking about moving to Saraland and you want to understand the community, the neighborhoods, and the history behind all of it, reach out. I grew up here, and I sure would love to show you around. Because around here, this land has a story, and we're still writing it.